It's basically just a big pile of because you can't just hack your way through body's physiology unless until you're doing something illegal.
Do I have to take supplements?
So this is something which is a little controversial. Somebody out there promising, hey, what you do is you squeeze a lemon and just add this secret ingredient and it will start melting your fat fast. If you're somebody who does not understand logic, you would fall for that quickly because that's promising quick results. They don't care about long-term sustainable results. So all they want to do is just sell their 100 rupee course, 100 rupee solution. Through that, they are running a scam. But somehow a scientist comes out and says, hey, spend 20 minutes in the sun, and somehow people are like, oh wow, this guy's a genius. Are you guys kidding me? And then people think women shouldn't lift weights. Kids should not lift weight because otherwise they'll stunt the height. Yeah, all sorts of stupid myths. Resting heart rate, your lean mass, and your VO2 max. These are three top predictors of mortality.
What are some of the most common mistakes that people make when they're trying to lose weight?
I think
why do people struggle so much to lose weight?
As of today, we know for a fact that obesity or you gain weight primarily because of mismatch of calorie intake versus calorie expenditure. You go to WHO official website, they'll tell you that obesity happens primarily due to mismatch in your caloric intake versus caloric expenditure. See, over the last few years, humans have become a lot more comfortable. We don't walk as much as we used to, right? We don't train as hard because there's no question of survival. People used to train for wars, and they used to be hunters, scavengers, gatherers, farmers, everything that required a lot of physical activity. Now, over time, that physical activity has reduced drastically. And now we don't have to worry about food. The food that was not available, now it's plentiful, right? So we don't have to save it for tomorrow. So there's no reason for anybody to portion the food. All right, so what has happened is that people have started eating more and they are working out less. Now, if obviously you're eating more and not working out enough, at the end of the day, your body requires a certain amount of energy. Any more than that, it is going to start storing that energy, which is exactly what is fat. Fat is stored form of energy. And so if you're not using it, it will just keep getting stored. And so today people don't understand this basic principle. And they think that they are getting obese because of some hormonal fluctuation or because of, let's say, eating food from microwave, or they think there's some chemicals which are affecting this, all of which could be contributing factors, but they're not the main reason why they are getting fat. So if they understood this, they'd be able to understand that, hey, all I have to do is just eat less calories, eat right amount of calories, and then more physical activity.
And in that journey, what are some of the most common mistakes that people make when they're trying to lose weight?
They want to do it quick, which is what we have seen when people try to do it with other things, like be it fame, be it money. People are always looking for shortcuts. So you see gambling. How many people actually win money out of gambling? A lot of people lose before somebody wins. In a similar manner, when somebody is trying to achieve fame, a lot of people actually become infamous before somebody actually becomes famous. But people don't look at the people who have failed. They look at one successful person and think, oh, maybe I'd be the next successful person. And in this endeavor, they try and fall for the same scams over and over again without realizing, hey, all you have to do is just do the basics and repeat it over a period of time. The results are never going to be quick and easy. It takes time. It's like financial success. It just takes time.
So there's people want quick fix. People want things fast.
Yeah.
And also, like, maybe social media has a big impact there.
Yes.
Right? What do you think is the negative influence of social media on what you just said?
I think one of the biggest problems is that when people give into these desperate wants, when they want something quick and easy, there's a guarantee there's somebody out there who is going to capitalize on that desperation and turn that into a business. And you, someone who's not used to of reason, somebody who's driven by emotions and who's not capable of logically reason, you'd probably fall for that scam, which is basically 99% of the people out there today. If I'm telling you, hey, you know what, this is very simple, like losing weight is just a function of energy expenditure and energy intake. All you have to do is eat enough food, don't starve yourself, sleep enough, drink enough water, walk 10,000 steps, but it will take 3 months. Versus somebody out there promising, hey, what you do is you squeeze a lemon and in warm glass of water and just add this secret ingredient and it will start melting your fat fast. Now, if you're somebody who does not understand logic, you would fall for that quickly because that's promising quick results. And this is what's happening on social media because, see, they have an infinite funnel. In a country of 1.5 billion people, you have millions of people who want to lose weight. So they don't care about long-term sustainable results. So all they want to do is just sell their 100 rupee course, 100 rupee solution, and through that, they are running a scam. Because they'll always find enough gullible people to scam.
Yeah, I really like that. And like I read your book and I really love it. And I think you are able to bring very complex topics and you share it in a way which is very simple to understand. And something that was very interesting was to see over your book, you were talking a lot about misconceptions, such as the one of the lemon and the water, right? Yeah. What are the biggest misconceptions that you see people falling into?
Right. Some of the biggest misconceptions are around supplements. People think that there are fat burners which can burn fat, and there is no such thing as a fat burner, something that can melt fat. You can't melt fat unless until you are in a state of calorie deficit. And then people think women shouldn't lift weights, which they absolutely should because it's healthy for them. Then people think that kids should not lift weight because otherwise they'll stunt the height. All sorts of stupid myths. Then they think you shouldn't eat food or carbohydrates after 7 p.m. at night or you'll gain weight. And some people think breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You have so many myths, it's crazy. People think eating carrots is going to give them good eyesight because carrots have beta carotene and it's good for eyes. So you have, with every year, every passing year, you have like so many new myths coming up. It's hard to keep a track of all the myths, infinite myths.
How do you feel when you look at all that?
Well, at first it was very emotionally distressing because you'd see that those people who are perpetuating these myths and often scamming people, you think that those people will not stay around long enough. And at some point of time, people would realize that these are scams and there are legitimate people who are educating people the right way. Unfortunately, even if they don't stay long enough, there's always somebody to replace them. And so it's an infinite cycle. So first it was emotionally very distressing. I was like, why am I doing this? And now I'm like, okay, I don't care. I have enough people who want to focus on this, so I just focus on those people. I'm not responsible for everybody. I'm responsible for some of them, and that's good enough.
Yeah, and even you do a lot of work on your social media by educating people a lot. Yeah. Is there any study that you've seen on internet that really worried you that was coming?
Yeah, I think so. This is something which is a little controversial. There was a study done on a protein and its effect in developing atherosclerosis. And the study was basically done by a lead scientist called Babak Razani. And the study was a mechanistic study done in rats. He did the study and he found out some pathway through which the leucine concentration in blood goes up, and macrophages they affect the mTOR pathway, and it leads to formation of plaque, which then leads to formation of atherosclerosis, right? He clarified himself in a video that it was a mechanistic study done in rats and it's not a human study, right? And it was a transient study. Now, that does not automatically translate to protein actually developing atherosclerosis in humans, but that's what the media shared. And unfortunately, the study inadvertently, not willingly, made its way into the ICMR guidelines for some reason, because they gave a hint of the study and like a glimpse of the study in the guidelines recently, where they pointed out that that protein, especially BCAA, which is basically leucine, is leucine and valine, but they hinted that leucine concentrations in blood can lead to formation of some NCDs, right? So they were hinting at basically atherosclerosis, right? So I think that was a little concerning for me, because sometimes when media starts perpetuating these things, and even though the lead researcher came out and said, hey, it was a mechanistic study done in rats, sometimes it's too little too late, because the whole thing is hyped to an extent wherein even if you want to believe that the original study is just lost in translation. Yeah.
But it is true that it came out and it generated a lot of noise.
Yes, it did. It did, and that's why most of my time now what I do is I also from time to time teach people about fundamentals of researchers and how they need to validate a research or understand data. Like it's not an easy topic for people to comprehend, and usually these are the videos which don't get enough views, enough traction, but I still kind of slip them in so that if people are watching more simple topics, once in a while I will also throw in some topics so that they learn about how to discern if a study is actually a good study or a bad study.
And today there are so many terms which are coming, like biohacking, metabolic
conditioning,
what are your thoughts on all this?
Well, I think these are just fancy terms, and no more than your fads, which has happened over the years. So whenever you form or coin this term, which is hack, you automatically kind of grab the user's attention, and they are compelled to think that there's some sort of additional secret that you're sharing. And it's basically just a big pile of shit, because you can't just hack your way through body's physiology unless until you're doing something illegal, right? So most of the time it's just complex stuff, jargons, things which are universally known, and then you just position it in such a manner that it feels altruistic and something which the world hasn't known. For example, now people are talking about going out in the sun as some sort of hack. It's not a hack, it's something which has been there till eternity. But somehow a scientist comes out and says, hey, spend 20 minutes in the sun, and somehow people are like, oh wow, this guy's a genius. Are you guys kidding me? And then the problem with this is that, you talk about going out in the sun, people think you're smart, you're intelligent. Simultaneously, you also start peddling bullshit. You're like, oh, do cold plunges. And then you start selling your cold tubs, ice water tubs. And then, you also start investing in companies, which are like supposedly, very potent mixture of ancient herbs. So there's a lot of appeal to the masses. There's a lot of appeal to nature, appeal to tradition policies which are being committed, hiding behind very simplistic universal truths.
And that's what you're trying to do with bringing more education and then making it more accessible to people,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay, let's so maybe you can, for our audience, let's now go to the basics. Like how would you explain to a 12-year-old how our body works?
Right. I'd say our body is a machine, just like any other machine. And think about a car. Your car runs on fuel. It needs fuel. It could be petrol, diesel, electricity, whatever. But it needs fuel to run. And just like our bodies, our cars also have a tank, right? A storage. So if you put in the fuel in the storage, and if you run the car, and you check your car, you see average, you'll see speed and everything, right? In a similar manner, you put in the fuel, which is basically coming from your food, and you move around. That's you basically moving around using that fuel. Now, what happens if you keep adding fuel to the car but not moving the car? The storage capacity will exhaust and the fuel will start coming out of the tank, which is exactly what happens in human body. If you keep on adding more fuel, you get a tummy. And that's basically a spillage in a solid form. It's basically overspill, it's an overspill. And that's why it's protruding outside your body, right? So what you have to do is you have to start using the car again, start moving your body. And as you start consuming the fuel, the protrusion will go in. So it's a machine like any other machine. It's just a lot more complex.
Yeah. And that's what you were saying before. It's about like you need to be careful about like the amount of energy that you take.
Yes.
And also the amount of energy that you expend.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's the basic, right?
Yes, that's the basic.
But if we go more in detail, how does that process works? In terms, like maybe we can even understand like what our metabolism.
Right. So metabolism is basically a complex process. At any given point of time in your body is trying to break stuff and build stuff simultaneously, right? So you have anabolism, then you have catabolism, where your body is trying to break something down. That's referred to as catabolism. When your body is trying to build new stuff, new cells, it's called as anabolism, right? So when you consume food, the food itself is broken down, and then this food converts into different substrates, which then are used to either produce energy in the body or produce new cells, new components in the body, right? So this entire process would be referred to as food metabolism, right? And so, for example, let's say you eat a healthy meal, which is a combination of carbohydrates, fats, protein, fiber, and obviously water. So carbohydrates will go and break down into glucose, fats will go down, break down into fatty acids, your protein will break down into amino acids, and then body will use these components to build stuff up. For example, amino acids will be used to build structures of the cells. It will be used to build muscles and other tissues and other organs, and then repair other organs. And then your carbohydrates will be used for fuel, or it will be stored for later use. Fats typically are used for fuel and for some metabolic processes like absorption of vitamins and minerals. Yeah.
So it looks like what you're saying is that we have the car. A car needs fuel.
Yes.
Our body needs food.
Yes.
Same as the car. And the car has the engine.
Yes.
That makes the car work.
Yeah.
For us, we have all the systems that you were saying,
yes.
which is our metabolism.
Right. So in a good comparison would be like how a car has different parts. It has an engine, it has a radiator, it has an exhaust, it has an electrical system. In a similar manner, your body has lungs, they have heart, we have the digestive system, we have endocrine system. And so there's different kinds of systems in our bodies in a similar manner, like we have different types of systems in the car. And all the systems require energy. In our body, all these systems require energy.
And maybe we can go a bit more. And how is that transformation of that food into energy?
Right. So when we consume food, the food typically is either it's a combination of carbs, fats, protein, right? And your body does not typically metabolize protein into usable energy unless until you're starving. So primarily that leaves two ingredients. You have carbohydrates and you have fats. So carbohydrates convert into glucose, fats convert into fatty acids. Now there's something called as glycolysis, where your body converts or breaks down glucose. So glucose is, let's say, 6 carbon molecules, so C6H12. O6, that's like the glucose is the carbon molecule. And then your body, what it does is every time it breaks down, there's some release of energy. And the energy currency is referred to as ATP, adenosine triphosphate, right? Similarly, after glycolysis, your body enters in something what we refer to as a Krebs cycle, which further produces more energy. And then it goes into ATP, which is the electron transport chain, which releases even more energy. And so it's a bit complex. It's basically part of cellular respiration. And but yeah, this is how basic basically your body converts food into usable energy.
Yeah. And in your book, you mention 3 concepts. For me, it helped me a lot to understand the process, which is your basal metabolic rate,
yes,
and your total daily energy expenditure, right?
Yeah.
And then you have your total calories that you take, right?
Yes. Yes.
I think that would be really nice for our audience to understand this concept, because it really helped me to understand our body.
Right. So imagine in the car, you put up the fuel. Because the car has so many parts, and every part requires certain amount of energy, right? In a similar manner, your body has so many organs. You have your brain, which requires roughly 20% of your calories. Then you have heart, which is constantly beating. Your lungs, which are filtering out air, right? You have kidneys, you have liver, you have your intestines, right? You have all these organs. Apart from that, you also have muscles because you're moving, right? So all of these organs require a certain amount of energy. Collectively, this energy, when you are not doing anything, is referred to as basal metabolic rate. Like for a healthy body, at rest, this is the amount of energy you're going to require in a 24-hour period. Now, this is a state of rest. So think of this as a car which is turned on but staying in neutral. If you keep the car turned on, stay in neutral for 24 hours, it's going to still burn some amount of energy. It's going to be less, but it will still require some energy just to keep systems running. But if you put the car in first gear and start moving forward, it's going to require a lot more energy. If you move it faster, it will burn the energy more faster. If you move it to third and fourth gear, it will burn even more energy. So this additional energy, right? In a similar manner, when we are at rest, we are consuming this energy, which is referred to as BMR, or basal metabolic rate. But let's say we start moving, we start exercising, we start doing higher intensity exercise, the energy need is going to be incremental. So in a day, depending on how much exercise you're doing, how much moving you're doing, how much talking you're doing, even moving your hands, everything is going to require extra energy. When you combine all of this together with your BMR, you come at a number which is referred to as total daily energy expenditure. And this number is important because if this is the number of calories you're consuming every day, you're going to maintain the same weight. But let's say if you want to reduce the weight, you have to consume calories which are less than your total daily energy expenditure. And if you want to gain weight, then you have to keep consuming calories which are above your total daily energy expenditure. That makes sense?
You broke it down so well. Yeah,
thank you.
It makes sense. It's like, I think it's very important because what we need to make sure is that we have our BMR, and we need to make sure that whatever energy we are consuming to be at least at the same level, right? As our BMR, right?
At least BMR.
At least the BMR. And then if we consume more calories than our TDEE, right?
Yes.
That's when we gain fat.
Yes.
Because we start accumulating those
We're
fat.
not using it.
We're not using it. And it starts accumulating in our body.
Yes.
And that's when we start gaining weight.
Yes. That is correct.
So good. Yeah. Whew.
And if you want to lose weight, you just have to consume calories below your TDEE, and you'll start using your stores.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying, people need to be aware the amount of calories that they intake and the amount of calories that they are using.
Yes.
So basically that's a simple what people need to understand, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, very good. Love it. Okay, we came here, now we understood there's a lot of misconceptions.
Yes.
You already spoke about the misconceptions. You told us about that our organism is like a car, right? We understood how it works. And then it's all about how many calories you intake versus the calories that you spend, right? Cool. So now if I come to you and I ask you for advice, okay, if I want to be fitter, if I want to be more healthy and have more energy to perform, what would be the first thing that you would advise me?
Right. So first you have to quantify what do you mean by fitter, because fitter can mean different things for different people. If you're an athlete, being fitter does not necessarily mean losing weight. It could be, hey, I want to be faster. Faster than what? What's your current baseline? You say, I want to lift heavier. Lift heavier than what? What's your baseline? right? So first I need to know your baseline, and then I need to understand how much you are trying to move that baseline. Okay, and then we move in that direction. For example, it could be a simple, or let's say somebody comes with a very simple query. Hey, I just want to lose weight. So first I have to understand what's your weight now and how much weight you want to lose. So let's say you are 70 kgs and you want to lose 5 kgs. Now this is a math equation that I need to solve for. You know, roughly we know that if I want to lose 1 kilogram of fat, you'd roughly be needing 7,000 calories, right? So if I do a deficit of, let's say, 500 calories per day, you'd end up losing 1 kilogram of fat in a matter of 14 days. So if you want to lose 5 kgs of fat, you multiply it by 5, and you end up with 14 into 5. So roughly 50 days, 45 to 50 days, right? That's the number you end up with. And so that's the amount of time it will take. Now, what we do is we basically follow through. So we plan and then we execute.
Okay, so the first thing is to be very clear about your goal, right?
Yes,
and then you define and you see where is your baseline, right? And then you have all the exercises and also the food that you need in order to achieve that. I think a good place first to understand what you just said is maybe you can explain to us what was the challenge that you did with Nusair from Nas Daily, where he did a 6 months transformation in his body, right? Maybe you can tell us what were the steps that you took with him.
All right, so Nusair's challenge was body recomposition. He was sitting at 20% body fat, and he said, JC, I want to feel fit. And so I had to quantify that statement. I said, okay, which means that you want to build muscles and you want to lose fat. So you are 20% something and we have to get you down to 10% something. And because he also wanted to see his abs. So we said, okay, 10% body fat is when you will start seeing your abs properly, more shredded, more defined, right? So one of the biggest challenges with Nusair was that he was a vegetarian and he was always traveling. And he did not have access to the gym, right? So then we said, okay, so what is it that he can do? So I would train him on Zoom every day for 45 minutes to an hour. It was an HIIT style routine, which was primarily just body weight training with a pair of dumbbells and sprints. Sprints are really amazing way to build up. It's also stimulates the growth, release of growth hormones. Stimulates. Then on top of that, it's very effective for building your cardiovascular health. And because it's also glycolytic, anaerobic, it does not affect your muscles, like it would not lead to muscle loss. On top of that, it's really good to bring down your RHR and improve your VO2 max levels. So all of these parameters he wanted to see a difference in. So we also conducted blood tests. We also took his RHR. We also took his HRV. We also took his VO2 max. Right. So he said over the next 6 months, all these parameters will improve. Another thing I did was unlike other coaches, I do extensive tracking, which means that he was tracking and giving me his details every single day. How much he was sleeping, how much he was walking, how much food he was consuming, and how much exercise we did. Obviously that he was doing with me, and he was training 7 days a week. So this was more like a body recomposition. Because when he started, his weight was about 75 kgs, and then he ended up at 72, 73 kgs. So it was not like a huge reduction in his weight because he built muscles and lost body fat. He lost almost 10% body fat. He gained about 2 kilograms of lean muscles in a span of 6 months. Yeah, which I would say it was pretty decent considering that he did not have access to the gym, right? So basically, every individual is different. Their needs are different. Their baselines are different. Their experience is different. Their food choices are different. Their limitations are different. You know, some people have access to the gym. Some people don't have access to the gym. Then there are also physical inabilities. Thankfully, in case of Nusair, there was no physical problem, no illnesses. So it was relatively easier for me to make him, sprints, do sprints every day. Right, so that's what we did for him, and then it was just a matter of him following a 2,000 calorie diet, and doing this body weight HIIT style routine every single day for a period of 6 months, and his body changed. Yeah.
Wow, that was amazing. So what I really enjoy is that you helped him be very specific.
Yes.
What he wants to achieve.
Yes.
It's not just I want to get fit.
No,
you said like, okay, it's body composition.
Yes.
It's 10%
yes.
of body composition. That's
yes.
specific,
yes.
right?
Very specific.
Then you went in you created all the exercises,
yes.
also nutrition, and you measure everything.
Everything
was
yes.
measured,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Wow, I really like that.
I mean, if you wanna, so it's like this, you can invest. Do you invest in stocks? I use this analogy to explain people how it all works. You can either invest in, let's say, a blanket stock, which are like mutual funds, and you don't know which stocks they have invested in. You just focus on mutual funds, and then they grow, right? But then you really don't have a control on how those mutual funds are growing, because you're not really looking at which stocks they are invested in, right? But a person like me, like for example me, if I'm responsible for my stocks, I want to pick and choose every single stock, and I want to keep the winners, I want to remove the losers. So it's all about controlling the variables. The more variables you're able to control, the better outcomes, the better yield your portfolio will give you over a period of time, right? So it requires immense amount of calibration, because when you are running a life challenge for 6 months, if the results are not there, you have people out there, they're scrutinizing you. If the challenge is not fulfilling enough, if it's not watchable enough, so you can't leave that to chance. You have to account for each and every variable.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we underestimate the power of measuring also
yes.
our body, right?
Yes.
Because
yes.
we always think like we measure like a business, everything we measure business,
yes.
stocks,
yes.
and everything. But we don't do that enough with our body.
We don't do
right?
that, yeah.
Maybe what are the 3 most important metrics that we should keep daily?
I think 3 important metrics, not just my opinion. I think the wide community agrees that your resting heart rate, your lean mass, and your VO2 max. These are 3 top predictors of mortality. If you have all of these metrics in healthy range, you're going to live longer. And if these metrics are not in a good range, then you're not going to live as long as you should. And this is basically not just a quantitative metric, they are also qualitative metric, because they also talk about quality of life, right? So VO2 max, lean mass, and resting heart rate.
Very good. So if we go now, let's now, whoever is watching us and want to know, okay, I want to start. Let's say my fitness journey.
Sure.
Right? So what is your advice for them? What can they do in order to get fitter?
I think just like how you keep educating yourself about your finances, right? Because if you're not learning about finances, you can't be rich. In a similar manner, nutrition is not something that happens by chance. You don't get healthy by chance. You have to work for it. And that requires learning a bit about your own body. So invest in learning about your body, about nutrition, about training, and how it all works. So you can also safeguard yourself against scams. Because you see people who do not have financial literacy, they are the ones who always end up spending money on these gambling and fantasy and all these kind of scams, because they are just desperate in their head. They're like, hey, if I invest 100 rupees and I'll get like 1,000 rupees. They always think that way. But in reality, collectively, a lot of people are losing 100 rupees, right? In a similar manner, if people do not educate themselves, if there's not enough health literacy, people are going to be scammed by people who are just waiting to capitalize on their gullibility. So educate yourself.
And also that connects what you started this conversation with, just to say there's so much information out there, so many influencers, right? And so many scams and misinformation. So it's about us keeping educating ourselves, so that we know, what is the best, but also what works for us. Right?
Yeah.
And if we go for fitness, Like if I want, let's say for people, let's say want to lose weight, what is the best in terms of fitness?
You mean people want to lose weight? What's the best thing they can do?
Yeah.
So even if you're somebody who does not want to measure your calories, just stick to whole foods, and make sure that you're consuming whole foods and high protein foods, because generally high protein foods and whole foods are extremely high in satiety, so people cannot overeat them. So more vegetables, more whole grains, cereals, legumes, and then lean sources of protein, which could be your meat, your dairy. All of these can be part of your healthy regimen. Stop eating outside and do at least 5 to 10,000 steps per day. That's like the absolute basic. If you do this, most of your lifestyle related ailments will go away. There's like absolute basic. Anybody can do this, and if they do this, they'd be able to maintain a good weight.
And then for people who want to go to the next level, who want to be more active, more energy, and more healthy, what's next?
What's next is then they can start talking about how much food they're eating, quantifying. They can start measuring the food, because when people assume that they are eating healthy, chances are that they are not. A lot of times when people think they are eating less, they're actually eating more and not eating less. It's almost every time. When somebody says, hey, I'm eating less, but I'm not losing weight, is that they are eating foods which are high in density, right? So for example, a simple sweet, like which is this small, it can have 250 calories. And 250 calories is actually one big bowl of rice. So you think you're eating this much, when actually you could have ate this much and felt more fuller, right? So people make that mistake all the time. So when you start quantifying, when you start putting a number to how many calories you're consuming, that's the next level. When you do that, the results are far more linear. Then you start controlling your sleep. If you sleep for, let's say, 7 to 8 hours every day, you would reduce the fluctuations even more. Start controlling your water intake. If you drink 3 to 4 liters of water and more if you're athletic, the fluctuations will reduce even further, right? And then you control your training. If you build muscles, your glycemic control gets better, your insulin sensitivity goes better, insulin resistance comes down, and you build muscles, right? So when we talk about lean tissues, and then depending on the intensity of the exercise, it also improves your other parameters like resting heart rate, your VO2 max, right? So we moved from how to not gain weight to staying healthy to become athletic and focusing more on longevity, right? So there's a level 2.
Sorry. And something that you talk a lot is about resistance training.
Yeah.
For the audience who wants to start their journey and build their own workout, what do they have to do?
Well, anything that offers resistance, anything that is slightly difficult for you, you can start with. It could be as simple as doing a couple of push-ups. It could be as simple as doing a few pull-ups. It could be as simple as doing body weight squats, sitting down, getting up. That also comprises a compound weight training movement or a compound resistance training movement. So it does not need to be a fancy, complex, extensive gym routine. It could be something as simple as push-ups, pull-ups, squats, body weight squats, and maybe sit-ups, and just increase the number of repetitions. Just make it more and more. Just increase the number of sets, just increase the overall volume. And over a period of time, as it becomes more and more difficult for you, the cells will break down. And as a result of which, when you sleep, the cells will become, the cells will get repaired. And when they get repaired, they become stronger. That's how you build muscles, right? That's how you gain lean mass. So these are the basics. And then on top of that you can, depending on what kind of access you have. Do you have a pair of dumbbells? Do you have yoga mat? Or do you have access to the gym? You can build on top of this.
So for people, for example, who are at home, how can they build a workout at home without going to the gym?
Just do basic push-ups, pull-ups, plank, body weight squats. That's good enough. Do this X number of sets, and that's about it. Y number of reps, and do start with a 15-minute workout. The next day, do 16-minute workout, then 17-minute, 18 minutes. Try and do 45 minutes of training per day, and you're perfectly fine.
Yeah, and in terms of nutrition, you also, in your book, you mentioned about supplements, right? So do I have to take supplements?
No. In fact, in the book, I've made it very clear that supplements are not necessary. The name itself suggests that they are supplements. So they are supplementing your food if your food is not nutritious enough.
Yeah.
If you're not able to meet your protein intake from your food, you can take whey protein or plant protein, right? But most of the supplements out there, they are not necessary. There are ergogenic supplements like creatine, like beta-alanine or arginine, which can help sports athletes in improving their performance while working out, while training, right? They can reduce the feeling of fatigue. Then there are conditional supplements like certain vitamins and minerals in case of a deficiency. And like I said, there's food supplement like whey protein or complex carbohydrate drinks for let's say marathons, or for let's say somebody who is into long distance endurance training. They need a carb drink to replenish their glycogen stores, right? So there's food supplements, there's ergogenic aids, and there are conditional supplements. So depending on what your end goal is, you pick and choose. But for people who are looking at general well-being, they don't really need any of these supplements. Yeah, maybe a protein supplement, but that's about it. Yeah.
So, and also I think maybe people see a lot of supplements as quick fix.
They're not quick fixes.
Yeah. So like, for example, okay, they see it as more as a complement, right? And not a supplement. And that's where the issue happens, right? Yeah.
The reality is that most of the supplements add like less than 5% to your overall health. 95% is non-supplemental. Yeah. It's your food, it's your nutrition, it's how much you're sleeping, how much water you're drinking. This is basically 95 to 98% of the outcome. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we focus on the other part, then we don't need supplements.
We don't.
Very good. Okay, cool. This was an important topic that I wanted to discuss with you.
Sure.
You know, for me, I'm very disciplined in a lot of areas of my life.
Sure.
But in terms of fitness, it's been difficult to find the consistency, mostly the consistency.
Right.
Like, what's your advice for people like me, or that sometimes we have a very busy schedule and we are not able to keep the consistency or even the motivation to continue?
Right. I think it has to tie in with your identity. Like, who are you? If you're somebody who is comfortable with their identity, you want to maintain that identity for long. And I think being able to maintain a certain identity for long has its own benefits. Imagine, one fine day Bill Gates walked in and people, instead of listening to what he's saying, started looking at his protruding stomach and say, what the fuck happened to Bill Gates? That's a distraction.
Yeah.
So people who are at successful places in life, they avoid distraction because they understand that what they're saying is far more important than what they're looking like. Right? So people want to maintain themselves in a certain manner, a certain way. Right? So this is especially true for entrepreneurs, So if you want to reduce distraction from your life, you have to keep status quo about certain things, which means your health, your appearance, the way you look, the way you walk, everything has to remain static. It cannot keep on changing. Otherwise, people will stop taking you seriously. Then you'll be like a fashionista or a fashion icon, but not somebody who's saying something worth listening to. So if I go meet someone and if they look at me and they're like, JC, did you gain fat suddenly? I don't want that.
Yeah.
So I wanna keep certain things static. So the only constant is what I'm saying. And that should be the most important thing. Yeah.
So what you're saying is that it needs to be part of your identity.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like also like the why you're doing something.
Yeah.
So you build that into your identity, and then you understand this is important for me.
Yes.
And I cannot miss.
Yes.
I need to focus on it.
Yes. Now, next time I'm meeting you, I'll remember this Rodrigo who's very fit.
Yeah.
And I want to remember you like this. You want yourself to be remembered like this.
Yeah.
A very fit Rodrigo. Right? If you gain a couple of pounds, people will assume something happened.
Yeah.
You probably let go of your discipline, or maybe something is wrong. Subconsciously people are going to kind of question. And so one is that. On top of that, I think it's also basic hygiene.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to fall sick. I don't want to become a burden for my family in my old age. And I think it makes you less productive if you're unfit. You have so many problems. I don't like taking off from my work, and I don't suggest people do that because it's an easy fix. You are getting sick because you're not taking care of your basic hygiene.
Yeah.
So being healthy is also basic hygiene, like taking a shower, brushing your teeth, wearing nice clothes. It's all part of your identity, your basic hygiene.
This was awesome. What you just said was just so good. That's just so good. Yeah.
But here's the truth. You look at people who've been relevant for a very long time. They've just managed to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Have you noticed Bill Gates? For 40 years, we've been hearing about this guy, maybe 50 years. And nobody talks about his weight, nobody talks about his hairstyle, nobody talks about his glasses, the way he looks, because he's looked exactly the same in the last 40 years. He has aged, but his lifestyle has remained same. Same thing happened with Warren Buffett. You don't see suddenly a plump or a fat Warren Buffett coming out. Like, people are getting fat in a matter of a couple of years. These guys have stayed relevant for so long, and they have stayed in almost similar kind of shape. Look at Obama, look at look at Biden, look at any big leader or a businessman, and they've looked a certain way for a very long time. I think your identity, the way you look, the way you carry yourself, it just ties in with everything you're doing and you're saying. So it's very important to uphold this identity of yourself.
Maybe can you give us an example of, I know you have thousands of stories, someone that went through that process and completely changed, even their identity change?
I think Nasir. Nasir is one of the most, he's a great example of that. See, he wears the specific t-shirt that talks about a certain percentage of his life just completed. And I asked him this question, Nasir, do you think less people will recognize you if you stop wearing that t-shirt? He said, absolutely yes. A lot of people recognize me because of this t-shirt. Because up until now, my face kept changing. And I was gaining weight, I was losing weight, and people were pointing out that, Nasir, you've gained weight, you've lost weight. But they would still recognize me because that t-shirt was my identity. And now I have stopped wearing that t-shirt as often I would. Like, I can comfortably remove that t-shirt and people would still identify me because I'm fit. So now, first I was unfit Nasir, now I'm fit Nasir. Right? So a lot of people would know me because I'm also physically fit. So that has become my identity. So this is a new person altogether. And people would not need a t-shirt to identify that this is Nasir. They'll look at him, they'll look at his body, and they'll say, hey, this is Nasir. And this happens with a lot of famous people. Like, people would just look at them from the back, and they will immediately identify, oh, this is Ronaldo, or this is The Rock, or this is someone, And I think that's because the personality has become so much more charismatic, and not just the personality, I think their actions and everything. It's a blend of a lot of things, but I think the personality also plays an important role. Your physique also plays a very important role.
Yeah, I really love that about your identity. You need to build your identity, and especially in a world today where image is so important.
Yes.
It's really, really important. But not just that, but also the base, which is our energy, our performance. Right?
Yes, yes.
Wow, that is really, really good. For some people who have trouble with their body, like even body shaming, what's your advice?
Well, you can fix that. In today's world, everything is fixable. There's no point living in dysmorphia. If you have something which is bothering you, get it fixed. There's no shame in having it fixed. Because to be able to accept something and living with it is far more difficult than just fixing it and moving on. So if you can fix it, fix it. Acceptance is usually long and painful process. So if you are overweight and if you have problem with dysmorphia, You can fix it by losing weight, going to the gym, adopting a better lifestyle. There are things that can be fixed. There are things which cannot be fixed. For example, if there are people like who have lost a limb, you can't grow a limb back, but they can certainly do better with a prosthetic, in which case they often go for prosthetics, right? So they feel whole again, right? And that's exactly how we have to treat people who have body image dysmorphia. So think of yourself as someone who's let's say not comfortable with your body image, and doing something, fixing, getting a procedure, or getting a healthy lifestyle is sort of like a prosthetic that makes you feel whole again. So I'm pretty open to the idea of people doing whatever they need to fix their body image. Yeah.
What I really like about what you say is that there's most of the time it's in our control.
Yes.
Right? It can be fixed. So
it's
not about staying with who you are,
yeah,
but also it's about understanding who you want to be.
Yes.
And then work towards that.
Work
right?
towards that. Yeah. Yeah. You can be a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we're coming to the end, and I think maybe a lot of people have see you as, of course, as a reference in terms of fitness and nutrition. Like, maybe you can share your habits. How do you stay fit and on top of your game?
All right. So I've been training for a very long time. So certain things that people would find trouble doing come very naturally easy for me. For example, I don't have any trouble going to the gym. For me, my biggest problem is when I'm not able to go to the gym, because it's like, for me, that's how I wake up. Unless until I go to the gym, I don't properly wake up. So I go to the gym first thing in the morning, and I train there. I have a coach who teaches me boxing, and after that, I come home, get ready for office, and during this whole routine, I'm constantly interacting with my family. So my family is like my comfort. They make me feel at peace, and I have 3 little dogs who are always running around, so there's always something adventurous which is happening. And usually I wrap up my work, come back home, and then I'd spend time with my family. That's my comfort routine now, but it was a lot more, it was a lot more complex when I was not in this position. But even then, I was finding time to work out because I was passionate about it. Now, a lot of people who are not in health and fitness, for them, fitness might not come as easy as it comes for me, because it's a part of my identity, it's a part of my business's identity, and it's basically what makes me, what earns me bread and butter, right? So for those people, you don't have to go through something which is as drastic as I do. I train for 1.5 hours in the gym, and I measure everything. I eat calculated food. What you need to do is you just need to fix your bad habits, which is, if you're drinking, quit immediately. If you're smoking, quit immediately. By just doing these 2 things, adding 10 healthy years to your life. If you're sleeping for 4 to 5 hours, try and take time and sleep for maybe 6 to 7 hours, and then push it to 7 to 8 hours. If you are not exercising at all, start walking at home. 5,000 steps is a good place, Start walking. Avoid eating outside. If you can avoid eating outside, stay at home and eat homemade food, not junk packets of chips and stuff. Just homemade food, and focus on eating more green leafy vegetables, more healthy carbs, whole foods, and lean protein, and you should be okay.
You achieved quite a lot in the past, let's say, 10 years. You build a very big community around fitness. You build a 600 crores business. You launch your own book, right?
Yeah.
When you look back at this journey, what was the one lesson that you've learned from this journey?
I think there are so many lessons. There are so many learnings. I think in the end, it's all about promises to yourself. It's all about promises that you make to your loved ones. And that is the most fulfilling part. The journey is going to test you physically, mentally, emotionally. There are days when you feel you're not enough. And there are days when you feel like you're on top of the world. So it tests you. And over a period of time, you find your emotional rhythm. So instead of someone who's going from up down over a period of time, the rhythm gets far more normalized, and then you come in a state of zen. And I think that's what everybody is aiming for. So this could be called as, how do you say, entrepreneurial nirvana. So where you achieve your rhythm, which is where you are at calm, you're at peace. And I feel that, I'll achieve that maybe in a couple of more years. I'm still a little bit here and there. Yeah.
Very good. So have promises for yourself, stick to that journey, and learn along the way in terms of how to manage your emotions and ups and downs.
Yes.
Very good. All right, we're coming to the end, and the last question is, if there's one thing that you want people to remember from this conversation, what is it?
People should remember that Rodrigo is an amazing guest, amazing host, and that he should come and we should do a podcast where I ask him about his journey, which is incredibly interesting. I think that part is remaining, so we'll cover that sometime. Apart from that, I think life is strange. It's horrifying, but it's also incredibly beautiful, and it's up to you which side you choose to look at. And when you wake up, are you filled with anger? Are you filled with regrets? Or are you feeling more grateful? And you're just feeling more hopeful. So I think it depends on which side you choose to wake up. And I also think that depends on which phase of life you're in. So I'm not saying one is better than the other. It's just like, even if it is, it's not in your hands, because there's no way that somebody can always wake up on the positive side of the bed. Sometimes there will be darker times, and there will be times when life will really test you. But as long as you keep your moral compass and you know what you have to do, you basically end up becoming the person you want to be. So that's very important. So you just have to find out for yourself what kind of person you want to be, and you'll become that kind of person. Yeah.
JC, it was such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for coming to the show.
No, it was an honor. Thank you so much for having me.